Shucks, I forgot about that. All right, what do my levels look like here on Facebook, on YouTube? All right, what's good, YouTube? We're live. Um, we're going live now. Hold tight. Hang in there.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
You're now about to witness the truth.
it's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Monday night. What is the month? It is November 30th, 2015. Tomorrow is December. This month has gone by fast. It's been a crazy weekend. It's been a good weekend for me, family-wise. Had a great time for Thanksgiving. I hope you guys had a great time. But in the news, it has been absolutely insane. There's so many things that I need to go over to discuss tonight, and I want to get you in on the conversation. You can join in 857-600-0518. You can leave comments in the YouTube question section, YouTube chat section, and then, of course, if you're listening live on Spreaker, you can leave a comment there, and we will reply to as many questions as possible. But of course, I do want you to call in 857-600-0518. I'm talking about everything tonight, from Planned Parenthood to the shooter, Robert Deere, to Donald Trump and his preachers. They just had this disgusting pep rally or press conference, whatever you want to call it. We're discussing CNN and their epithet of Freddie Gray. We're going to discuss so many things. I don't even have the whole list in front of me. I should have written it down, but it's I think it's in the title, so I'll go with that. But first and foremost, I want to thank you guys for being here. Thanks so much for being a part of the show, and I'm doing a couple of new things here, so bear with me one second while I make a quick switch. Let's jump right into this with Planned Parenthood. On Friday, there was a standoff. You already know what happened. 3 people, unfortunately, were killed by a deranged terrorist, by a domestic terrorist, Robert Deere, a right-wing conservative terrorist. We know that he's a right-wing conservative because of 2 things. One, as he was being arrested, he made the declaration that there would be no more baby parts. Out of his own mouth, this is what he said: no more baby parts. That was first. Then the second thing is the testimony of his ex-wife, who described him as generally conservative, very religious, read the Bible cover to cover. So not only is he a right-wing terrorist, he's a right-wing Christian terrorist. And I'm putting the emphasis on this. I'm really taking my time with who this guy is and who he there's so many things to deal with. Not only that he uttered the fact that there will be no more baby parts, which absolutely mirrors what Carly Fiorina and the rest of the Republican Party have been incessantly lying about, saying and suggesting that Planned Parenthood has been profiting off of body parts, off of selling body parts for profit. Not only did what he said completely mirror what they already said and what they've been feeding him in terms of propaganda, but he also has testimony from his wife that identifies him as a conservative Christian. For most of us, that's a pretty straightforward, open shut case. This is domestic terrorism that's along the lines of the killing of Robert Tiller. I believe the first name was Robert. If I have the first name wrong, please forgive me. But the doctor, the abortion clinic doctor who was killed because of the rhetoric that was spun by the right wing. So it's not a surprise that something like this happens because of the environment that Republicans and conservatives have created. They have fostered a sickening, a disgusting, a xenophobic, is homophobic, every phobia that you can imagine, conservatives are playing into it like never before. So it's not a surprise to most of us that something like this not only could happen, but did happen. But apparently it doesn't matter what this guy said out of his own mouth. No more baby parts. Apparently it doesn't matter what his wife said about him, that he's a conservative, that he's read the Bible cover to cover. None of that matters. Conservatives waited 2 days before they said anything whatsoever about this act of domestic terrorism that claimed the lives of 3 parents, a police officer, an Iraq war veteran, and a mother. 3 parents. They took 2 days to even respond to it because they could not find a position from which they could spin this. They could not allow this narrative of their vitriol causing this type of mayhem to go forth. So instead of saying anything for the first day and a half, they said nothing. And it wasn't until someone as slimy and greasy and as much of a weasel as Ted Cruz is, it wasn't until Ted Cruz found an angle that everyone started saying things. He found an angle because he found apparently there's a voting record. There's a voter registration record, rather, that identifies a Robert Deere registered as a woman voting as an independent. And so Ted Cruz uses this as an opportunity to say that, no, this wasn't a conservative, Christian, right-wing terrorist act. This was a transgendered leftist attack. This is what a candidate for the president of the United States said. This is what he did. Instead of even if he didn't want to concede that their rhetoric led to the deaths of 3 people, led to a tragic act of domestic terrorism, even if they didn't want to admit that, that wasn't enough. They couldn't just say we are mourning with the rest of America. They couldn't just say that we are grieving with the rest of America. That wasn't good enough for them to just say we are mourning and standing in solidarity. They had to find a way to rewrite the narrative so that their followers would never have a single chink in their armor that would allow them for 1 second to think that maybe our vitriol, maybe our rhetoric has gone too far. They could not allow that narrative to stand. And so what does he do? He vilifies the entire transgender community. He takes a voting registration record, which could be any Robert Deere, by the way. Let's just put that, let's just make that clear. That could be any Robert Deere. But even if this is the same Robert Deere, him voting as a woman no more makes him a transgender than a guy who uses a female avatar on Twitter. That's how absurd and ridiculous conservatives have become. That's the depths that they will go to insulate them from reality. They cannot come to grips with reality. And so they are actively seeking any way to create a bubble around their idiocy so that their voters would never have a moment to come up from air, to ever reflect and say that maybe there's something wrong with the type of rhetoric and vitriol that is coming from people like Carly Fiorina, who is incessantly lying about videos that does not show what they say it shows. And so instead of just either saying we stand in solidarity with the lost lives and the families and the heartbroken families, instead of saying that, they waited a day and a half so that they can find a political angle that their voters will be imbecilic enough to actually believe that this guy, despite his own words, remember when Dylan Roof made it clear that he was going to kill black people because they were black and he wanted to start a race war? Only conservatives can take the words of an actual murderer who is letting us know why they are doing this crime, why they are committing this act of terrorism, they can take those words and spin it to be about them and say Dylan Roof wasn't killing black people, even though that's what Dylan Roof said he was doing. Dylan Roof, no, he was attacking Christian values. Robert Deere was not killing people at a Planned Parenthood clinic because of his belief that they were killing babies and selling baby parts, even though that's what came directly out of his mouth. No, he was doing it because he was a transgender leftist activist, even though he was clearly, according to his own wife, a conservative Christian. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, yo, what's up, man? This is Will from New York.
Glad to have you on board, Will. What's on your mind, man?
You know I'm on board, man. So my question is, when do we get to hold these candidates for president accountable for being accomplices to this murder? Like, they've incited this rage. They've done this. They have incited this hatred that causes shit that makes people die. Mm-hmm. Can we hold them accountable as accomplices to murder? Can we do that? Is that going to happen?
That's not going to happen.
Can we do them?
I mean, it realistically, as much as in real life, as much as a person's words. Remember. I want to get the right city because there's been so many incidents of black men and women being killed. I believe it was Ferguson. I believe it was Mike Brown's mother, who they wanted to charge her with inciting a riot because after Darren Wilson got off, she said, burn this shit down. Now, just that was enough for all of conservatism to ask the prosecuting attorney to charge her with inciting violence. Now, in a normal world, the same thing that applied on that story would apply to this story, that we would say Carly Fiorina in particular, why
can't we put her in jail?
Why can't we put her in prison? Nobody's going to press charges against her. No district attorney is no. I mean, what state are they going to prosecute him? I mean,
you need to put these people in prison.
I don't disagree.
They're inciting riots. They have Nazi ideas. They're treasonous people. We need to put them in jail.
I don't disagree with you, but the process of actually getting it done, that is the problem. That is a problem. Thanks so much for the call, right, Will. I want to catch this next line. But that is the problem. The problem is that no one is actually going to do it. No one is actually going to no one is even going to hold. Let's take a step back from jail. No one is going to hold them accountable in the media. In other words, none of their voters are going to hold them accountable. They're not only not going to go down in the polls, many of them will go up in the polls. That is the twisted, pathetic world that we live in of right-wing propaganda. Caller, I missed you. 857-600-0518. Anyone who wants to join the conversation, feel free to give a call back. I want to play a video of, how shall I call him? The village idiot. I want to play a video of Joshua Feuerstein. If anyone needs to be charged with accessory to murder, it should be Joshua Feuerstein. Hold tight while I get this video up and running. But this is him essentially saying that we need to make them fearful. We need to make Planned Parenthood employees fearful of their lives. Let's get that going right there. Oh, it looks like the video has been taken down. All right. So while I find that video and get a better version of it, it's frustrating. It's beyond frustrating. It's a sad testament to, and I actually had people who wanted to argue me up and down about Robert Deere not being a conservative Christian, but rather being a leftist transgendered person. Despite the fact of what he said himself, despite the fact of what his wife said, they took the spin of Ted Cruz and that became their gospel truth. That is the thing. That's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. That's the thing that makes this so alarming is that they do not care. They have no regard for not only reality or facts. They have no regard for the words that comes out of people's mouths. None whatsoever. All they care about are the things that confirm their bias. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question? 347, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question? All right, so when you come back on the air, we'll discuss it, whatever. I'll keep you there, but all right, so let's move on from that, because that particular story is troubling because people lost their lives, and is a clear display of how political rhetoric can cause damage. And these are the people, mind you, these are the people who swear President Obama has divided the country on race like never before. Right? That's what they want to say. President Obama has divided the country on race. Like the country has more racial tension than ever before. All these things that they like to say. Somebody give me one example, just a single example of what President Obama has said that has been divisive racially, that has been racially divisive. You know what they consider being racially divisive? When President Obama said, if I had a son, he would look like Trayvon Martin. That's what they consider to be racially divisive. Yet they think nothing of people like Joshua Feuerstein, who says that we need to go to Planned Parenthood and make them afraid for their lives. All right, I have another version of the video here. I haven't screened this version, so I honestly don't know what it is. I'm going to try to give it a go and see what it see if it gives what I need. This is Joshua Feuerstein. Nope, that's not what I want either. All right, I'm gonna have to do this one on the break, guys, because the first video that I had for you did not play. It's not uploading, but I will play it for you after I take a break. Looks like I missed a couple of calls, but you all feel free to call back in 857-600-0518. I want to try this one again. 347, you're live on the air. I can hear you now. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, it's Pedro. How's it going?
It's going okay, Pedro. How's your day going, man? What's on your mind?
I hope you don't mind me briefly touching on the Colorado shooting again, but it leads to a point. First, don't miss the fun fact that part of the reason that Ted Cruz considered Mr. Deere a leftist was because he registered independent.
Right.
Not Democratic, but independent.
Yes.
So obviously, if you're not specifically Republican, then you're a leftist.
Exactly. That's clear. Anything that's not, that is by far one of the best examples of totalitarianism. If you're not in complete solidarity with who we are, if you vary from the path one bit, then you're not a part of us. You can't have, you are the enemy. You are the enemy. That's absolutely the case. Go ahead.
If you're not with us, you're against us,
you're
like
against
they
us.
always say.
That is completely totalitarianism. Go for it.
And the second thing, okay, you get a clip, the media gets a clip of a couple people saying pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon, even though Black Lives Matter has never condoned violence. And, of course, Black Lives Matter is a hate group. Donald Trump claims that there were videos of thousands of Muslims celebrating in New Jersey. Not a shred of evidence of that, and yet all Muslims should be deported, are worthy of hate and all that. Now, we have Carly Fiorina and tons of other Republican presidential possible candidates basing their claims about Planned Parenthood selling body parts, even though that video was so edited to the point of fabricating lies.
Right.
And it leads to death.
Right.
And they say not a damn thing about it.
Nothing.
In fact, because the end game of targeting Planned Parenthood aligned and was parallel with their views, they couldn't condemn it. They couldn't condemn it. All they can say is, "Oh, he's crazy." Not that they'll never claim responsibility for the exact things that they say.
Right.
And to me, and this is just like my personal opinion, it's making less and less sense to treat these people with respect or with dignity as though they're intelligent. Not to say that everyone that disagrees with me is stupid, but they're literally ignoring reality.
They're depending on the ignorance.
Making up things just to make a point.
They're making this. They're making this up as they go, Pedro. They're making this up as they go, and they're depending on a level of. I hate to just say it, but it's a level of willful ignorance. That's as nice as I can say it, but it's actually just blatant stupidity. But it's a level of willful ignorance where people are so desperate to maintain this construct of conservatism in their minds that they will accept anything that confirms that bias and reject every bit of evidence that would oppose that bias. Anything that would bring clarity, anything that would challenge their paradigm, they reject it completely, despite it coming from the mouths of the perpetrators. That is the thing that is so amazing. It does not matter what Robert Deere actually said. It does not matter what his wife said about him. All that matters is that they were able to find a registration of an independent person named Robert Deere who voted and who identified as a woman. That was enough for them to craft out a nefarious position, blaming and vilifying the entire transgender community as if they don't face enough violence as it is. They use them as a scapegoat, also that they don't have to simply stand in solidarity. Nobody said that they had to acquiesce. Nobody had said that they had to concede that they were wrong. All they had to do was say that this was a tragedy and we stand in solidarity with all the people of all the hurting families. They couldn't do that. They had to make it political. Go for it.
I just wanted to leave on this note that America prides itself on being like a melting pot of different cultures and different ideas, but the other side, the conservative far right, the fanatical extremist right, are getting more and more pervasive. Yeah, because too many people are afraid to say, "Oh, this is wrong," or "Oh, this is getting dangerous." People would rather be right than let people live in peace or even live at all. They'll let innocent people die without, or not even innocent, but they'll let people die without getting a trial. They'll never claim how much it is a tragedy, as you said, that people working in a place they don't like get killed. That cops get killed.
The cops, their own, right? The Blue Lives Matter, all lives matter. They completely dismiss this. They dismiss it in its entirety because they could not come to terms with the fact that this was a Christian right-wing conservative terrorist. And even if they didn't want to say that, all they had to say was this was a tragedy and we stand in solidarity with all the hurting families during this holiday season. That's all, or for them, this Christmas season or whatever. That's all they had to say. Pedro, thanks so much for the call. I got the video that I need. I want to play that real quick.
Thank you.
All right, go on, man. You too. All right, this is the video, guys. I found another version of it, and I want you to watch and listen to what this guy says. And they don't want, and before you think that this is some off the wall, which he is, this off the wall maniac, which he is, before you dismiss him as some outlier, this is Joshua Feuerstein, who has like 5 million followers. 5 million followers on YouTube. He on Facebook rather. He's the guy who started the entire Red Cup Christmas, the entire controversy based on a lie. So he has a dedicated following of millions of people, and he spouts this. He essentially tells his followers that every Planned Parenthood doctor needs to be fearful of their lives. Now, here's another thing about this story that pisses me the hell off, is the fact that this guy, Robert Deere, was able to shoot and kill 3 people, one a police officer, and he's taken alive. Juxtaposed with Laquan McDonald in Chicago, walking away from police officers with not a gun, had not attacked anyone, had not done anything but been out of order, rude, whatever, walking in the middle of the street, high on drugs, walking away from the police officers, and he ends up dead. Tell me again that there's no such thing as white privilege, white male privilege, particularly white male conservative privilege. That's a real thing. Gun nuts, white male conservative gun nuts have more privileges in this country than any other group. I don't care who you are, where you're from. Nobody can get away. Nobody can get away with things like white male conservative gun nuts who walk around with impunity with their weapons wide open while other people can't walk down the street without getting pulled and killed. All right, caller, I have you on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
It's Will from New York again. So my comment to this is that the minute I saw Robert Gere get arrested, all I thought to myself was, man, white guy goes to a place and shoots a bunch of people with a gun. And he walks out of that place alive. And then I thought about Laquan. Black guy goes to a place with a knife.
Yeah.
And he walks out of that place dead. Absolutely. And that's the America we live in. And I'm a transgender myself. And like, okay, he's transgender. Well, that's irrelevant.
Right. Exactly.
No one cares about that shit.
Exactly.
Why is that brought up? Because you need to criminalize a certain group so that that label can be hated and everybody can swarm to hating that fucking label. That's bullshit.
That's exactly what it is.
Man fucking killed people. And he deserves to be arrested and like put down. And then you look at Laquan McDonald. That man didn't deserve to die. He was just stabbing tires. This country is out of fucking control.
Yeah,
it's shit.
It is.
Yeah.
Thanks again for the call. I want to grab this next caller. But thanks for the call. It is out of control, Will. It is out of control, and it's disgusting that it's disgust. This one story embodies so many problems in America. It embodies the problem of white right-wing terrorism that has terrorized America for a very long time. It didn't start with Timothy McVeigh. The Ku Klux Klan was a white Christian organization. They have been terrorizing America for a long time. So it embodies that. It also embodies the political use of a marginalized group being vilified for political purposes. Ted Cruz is the most disgusting of all of the candidates because he would take a marginalized group that already faced violence and use them as a scapegoat simply so that they could have a spin point, that they could talking point, that they could get this off of their backs. And it exemplifies the privilege that white men, conservative Christians have in this country and the lack of privilege that other people have. All right, folks, there's so many things that I have to talk about tonight that I guess I'm not going to make an hour tonight. It's obviously going to be at least an hour and a half. So I want you guys to stay with me as I shift gears. I want to take a quick break while I pull up the next segment as we talk about Michael Eric Dyson and this damn video, this article he wrote. I'm a fan of Michael Eric Dyson, but I am absolutely opposed to this article he wrote about Hillary Clinton. And got to talk about these Donald Trump preachers and CNN and Freddie Gray. It's a full day. It's a full day of stuff to talk about. We'll be back after this quick break.
Join the conversation. 857-600-0518.
Thanks for hanging out with me, everyone. Be sure to go over to the BenjaminDixonShow.com and get you a free chapter from my book, God is Not a Republican. There are 2 chapters available for download for free. The first chapter is on the conservative religion, and I discuss all the different components of the conservative religion and how it is a perversion of Christianity, and it is both a threat to the United States as well as the Christian faith. So be sure to download that chapter. The other chapter that's available is on marriage equality and how conservatives and Republicans have used that over the years as a means of manipulating their voters, even though it was something that they could never stop because of the Constitution. Be sure to go download those free copies at thebenjamindixonshow.com and register for our blog while you're there.
Here's a priceless clip from the Dixon Vaults.
The same liberties and freedoms and space to exist that you get by virtue of the Constitution, that's going to be extended to every other American, every other ideology, every other religion, every other orientation. Everyone is going to be free to live their lives exactly the way they see fit, so long as how we're living is not intruding on the rights of someone else, right? As long as I'm not taking the liberty and life and freedom of someone else, I'm perfectly free to do whatever the hell I want to do. I'm free to be a Christian. I'm free to be an atheist. I'm free to be straight. I'm free to be gay. That is good news to everybody. And the fact that for so long we've allowed America to be based on Christian values, not by virtue of law, but by virtue of custom, that was an imposition on everyone who did not want to live like that. It was convenient for people like me who grew up Christian, and so it didn't bother me that America was ostensibly a Christian nation, even though it wasn't supposed to be, based on the Constitution. It was convenient for me, even though it wasn't on the books. It was like everyone had to live according to our morals code, even though they didn't want to. And that is not constitutional. No one should have to have their rights be predicated on the religious beliefs of someone else.
Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you're hearing his voice, you're hearing the voice of reason.
All right, I just needed a mental break real quick while I shift gears. But I definitely want you to go to thebenjamindixonshow.com and download 2 free chapters out of my book. The book is God is Not a Republican. I have chapter 12 available and chapter 6. Chapter 12 is on the conservative religion and all of the tenets, the 10 commandments of Republican ideology, how that ideology is a threat to Christianity. It's a threat to America. It's even a threat to the Republican Party. I don't really care about the threat that it is to the Republican Party, but I do discuss it. And you see it happening now. That conservative religion has taken over the minds of people who are otherwise rational. And the caller Pedro actually made something clear that I want to emphasize. A lot of times we try to make equivalencies between conservatism and progressivism. But I'm sorry, when you line up the idiocy on the right, let me start that sentence over so I can make the comparison I want to make. When you line up the problems on the left, and yes, we do have some idiots on the left. I ran into a couple of crazies today who just obviously could not read right. There are some crazy people on the left. But when you line up the totality of the idiocy on the left, it does not compare to the absurd, inbred ignorance, propaganda, ridiculous, bigoted, homophobic, xenophobic, misogynistic, sexist, everything wrong in America is magnified with conservatism. I can find you a leftist asshole. I can. I'm a leftist asshole. I can find you a leftist idiot. I'm not an idiot, but I can find you one. But what we're seeing, there's a difference between having an idiot who is a leftist and the right wing of this country being run by idiots. I'm sorry. There's no comparison. There is no comparison between the propaganda that flows from Fox News and then try to just wrap MSNBC up and say, oh, well, that's left-wing propaganda too. No, we wake up to Morning Joe, the most conservative anchor on television next to Bill O'Reilly. You cannot make a false equivalency, but that's what they've allowed to happen for years. They made a false equivalency between this soft, this at best cerebral only information coming from MSNBC. And they considered it to be propaganda when in actuality, all it ever has been is just pretty bland, just left of center, if at best, actually just right of center. That's all MSNBC has been for years. But somebody on Twitter said to me, progressives have been playing by a different set of rules than conservatives. Conservatives have been free to play this game of anything goes, while holding progressives to rules that they can't even live up to, that conservatives could never live up to. They want to hold progressives up to journalistic integrity, right? They want to hold it up, which is cool if everybody's doing it. But when you have shills like Bill O'Reilly blatantly lying about issues, when you have Lou Dobbs blatantly lying about things, when you have a host of guest speakers who come on Fox News who are completely filled with right-wing propaganda, everything but the truth, when you have presidential candidates who can lie, bold-faced lie to the entire nation, and everybody knows, except for their listeners, except for their voters, everybody knows that those bastards on that stage are lying, and nobody can say anything about it. But Brian Williams, who at best is a straightforward journalist without any left or right swing, only thing he does is report the bland news. Brian Williams misremembers a detail or straight out lies about a detail of the Iraq war, and he's off the air for 6 months. They're holding us to a standard that grips us and keeps us from fighting fire with fire while they run off with unhinged, unfettered propaganda. And you know what? It's not just them holding themselves to a different standard. We hold ourselves to a different standard because those of us on the left, for instance, as bombastic as I may be, as dramatic as I might get, I do my best to hold myself to the factual. As a matter of fact, I have plenty of listeners who will remind me when I said one thing wrong, when I said one thing that's not factual, when I misrepresented a fact. Not only do I hold myself accountable, my listeners hold me accountable. So we're holding ourselves to this standard that they have no regard for on the conservative end. So there is no equivalency. It is a false equivalency. There is no balance where you have Fox News has propaganda. Well, MSNBC has propaganda. No, there's absolutely no comparison. The damage that has been done by the right-wing, conservative, religious, Christian, extremist propaganda machine in the United States has been almost irreparable, whatever the correct word is. We've gone so far to the point where truth absolutely means nothing. All right, let me get off of that because I want to talk about this Michael Eric Dyson video. Keep calling the video, but I want to talk about his article. All right, Michael Eric Dyson. Let me start by saying I am a fan. I respect him. I respect him as a thinker. I respect him as a speaker. I respect him as a scholar. Let me look it up real quick because I want to pull up Dyson, New Republic, Hillary. Michael Eric Dyson put out an article entitled "Yes, She Can," discussing how Hillary Clinton will do more for Black people, than Barack Obama. Let me give you the cover. Here it is. Yes, she can. And in this article, he starts off going over everything that Hillary Clinton has done wrong for the most part with regard to the Black community and the things that her husband did wrong in regard to the Black community. But then he goes right into what President Obama has not been able to do for the Black community. Then he uses that as a justification, as a reason why Black people could, should, maybe, might support Hillary Clinton, because Barack Obama wasn't able to get it done. So that means Hillary Clinton will be able to get it done, despite all of her baggage, despite all of her racially tinged rhetoric through the years, despite her campaign being the brainchild behind Obama is a Muslim, besides her campaign running their version of a Willie Horton ad, 3 a.m. phone call ad. Despite all of those things that Hillary Clinton has done, Michael Eric Dyson forwards this ridiculous position that somehow Hillary Clinton is going to be better for African Americans than Barack Obama. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, you already know exactly what I'm going to say because I said it all last night, but I have to say it on air just because I need to get it down on video. I need to get it down on the record. There are a lot of problems with the article. But the one that bothers me the most is that Dyson has allowed his prestige and his position and the respect that the Black community has for him to be co-opted by Hillary Clinton. And I say it that way because the article itself was not even worthy of Dyson's capabilities as a scholar. It wasn't well argued. It wasn't well reasoned. The reasoning was tragic. So the writing itself betrayed his intellect, but it also betrayed the trust that we have for our public intellectuals. We don't need public intellectuals being co-opted by power. We need our public intellectuals to be speaking truth to power at all times. And what bothered me about this is that Dyson used a watered down version of Cornel West's critique of President Obama. He used a watered down version of that as a means of justifying why we should support Hillary Clinton. But here's the problem. Every legitimate critique of President Obama, some of which I don't agree with, but it doesn't mean that they're not legitimate. Every critique of President Obama has been to the left of President Obama. It has been his failure to close Guantanamo Bay. It has been his failure to deal with the Wall Street bankers who crashed our economy, and then we bought them. We bailed them out. It has been his lack of action on economic issues for the poor and for the middle class. Every reasonable and rational critique of President Obama is to the left of President Obama. So how is it then? It simply does not follow, rather, for us to take a criticism that's to the left of President Obama and somehow turn that into support for Hillary Clinton, who is clearly to the right, not only of President Obama, but of Martin O'Malley and Bernie Sanders. So if we're disappointed with President Obama because he was not progressive enough and because he did not enact policies that were beneficial for the poor and the middle class, of which the African-American community is disproportionately represented, how could we then use that as a means to supporting someone who is at best a status quo politician, at best, and at worst, she's going towards the right? That's the thing. It's like, it's the absurdity of criticizing President Obama for one thing, using that to uplift Hillary Clinton on another thing, when they are cut from the same mold. Both Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama are status quo politicians. So it does not follow for anyone to say, well, President Obama let us down on black issues. President Obama let us down on progressive issues. So then maybe we should support Hillary Clinton, when Hillary Clinton is further to the right of every Democrat that's running right now. Let me take this caller. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
So I'm on the air?
Yes, you're live on the air.
Okay. My name is Granville. I'm calling from the Bronx.
Granville, glad to have you on board, man. What's on your mind?
I think we're going to see another version of Reaganomics once Hillary Clinton comes back in office.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, let's be realistic. I'm from the home state that she's quote unquote senator of was, and I know somebody who works for her personally. They said all that you see is a facade. Unless the American people, especially the black and brown, but a lot of black folks, start really taking Democrats to task and start withholding their vote and probably come up with another third party to really hold their feet to the fire.
But instead,
this country will.
But instead, what we have our intellectuals, our so-called intellectuals, trying to take the black vote in mass and just sell it over to Hillary Clinton instead of holding her feet to the fire.
Mr. Dixon, I'm going to tell you what Cornel West said, and it's so true. We're in the era of sellouts. The people that you see on TV now, your Dr. Eric Dyson, your what's that lady's name on Saturday? Michelle Harris Perry. They're paid puppets. They will not talk against people who's feeding them. We all know that Dr. Michael Eric Dyson has a book deal with Obama. He has a book deal ready to come out with him. These guys are dangerous. A lot of these guys are selected. Let's be honest. That's why you don't see Boyce Watkins on TV. You'll never see Umar Johnson. You'll never see Julia Malvo on TV. Let's be very clairvoyant.
Mm-hmm.
When you know somebody's paid off, I don't expect anything to come out your mouth that has anything resemble truth.
Right.
And that's what we have to really be honest. All we have is us. And that's a tough pill to swallow. It's hard to stomach. But let's be real, a lot of these people, I don't even trust Bernie Sanders. Because they're not. KRS-One had something that he talked to CNN. It was about a 2-minute clip. And when he broke down the politicians, he said, none of these guys are speaking to your real issues. None of them are talking about real reform. None of them are talking about real change. And they're basically hoping that the voter is truly ignorant to the fact of what's going on. That's why they're not giving you a hardcore solution. Let's be realistic. A lot of these so-called unions, whether it's police, teachers union, or et cetera, could be reformed within a matter of a decade.
I agree with you there. There's a lot of changes that could take place, that could happen, but they're clearly not going to happen underneath the status quo. Let me jump in there real quick. I agree with you on most of everything that you said. I agree with you on the people who are on TV. They are paid, and you can't expect them to speak out. Every time somebody speaks out, they get rid of that person. What's the guy named Ed Schultz? You know, he was the only person. He was the only person that spoke out against the TPP, and he's gone. Right. So you can guarantee, Granville, let me take the rest of this one off the air so I can clear this line. You can guarantee that they're not going to speak about anything that's going to threaten their jobs and their positions. Where I disagree with you on is and I was trying to listen to see how you would explain why you don't trust Bernie Sanders. And I was trying, and then maybe get a call back in and explain that more. I didn't hear any justification of why you wouldn't trust Bernie Sanders, but maybe you have something that we're not privy to. I am more prone to trust Bernie Sanders because he is clearly not a part of the Democratic institution. He is being fought tooth and nail by the Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the Hillary Clintons. I trust someone who's an outcast from this political system way more than I would trust somebody who is on the inside of this political system. And that's what the article represented to me. It represented to me, by Eric Dyson, it represented to me a guy who is on the inside of the political system, basically doing the bidding of Hillary Clinton to help seal up the Black community. And I said this, if this guy's article is not 100% rock solid, it's going to backfire. It's going to backfire because one thing people are tired of more than anything else, and that is Black political elite and politicians in general trying to speak on behalf of the entire Black community and usher the Black community to just be comfortable with the status quo, and trying to placate the activism, trying to lull us back to sleep so that all we do is accept whatever Democrats throw our way. And I'm sorry, we're just not at the point. You said it. We're not at the point where we're just going to accept Reaganomics from a Democrat. We're not going to accept policies that are detrimental to the middle class and to the poor just because it's coming from a Democrat. That's like us accepting what Rahm Emanuel did, covered up the Laquan McDonald video for an entire year just because he's a Democrat. Hell no, he needs to go. Every person who's in part of that system needs to go. Anybody who's going to maintain the status quo, they need to go. If you're not serious about changing this economic paradigm, this political paradigm, this racial paradigm, you've got to go. Caller, you are live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, Ben, it's Patrick from Miramar.
Patrick, glad to have you, man. What's on your mind?
Yeah, sorry for lighting up your Twitter feed lately, but I was dismayed by my week-long long change for the Thanksgiving break, getting folks registered to vote, and really, just by nature of what we're doing, we encountered a lot of Hillary supporters. And I spoke to over 200 of them, some face-to-face and some who were in group settings of 20 and 30. So I count them as part of that as well. And I left there so discouraged because I genuinely believed before that I knew that the Democratic elite, the power structure, the politicians who need money to get reelected, they have shifted to the right.
Mm-hmm.
But I vastly underestimated how the base itself has shifted as well.
Right.
And I was getting into heated arguments with Democrats about universal health care. I was arguing with Democrats about how that's going to raise our taxes, really no new taxes. And I'm looking around the room. I'm waiting for Grover Norquist to walk in. It might as well been Americans for Tax Reform Organization meeting. And every issue from me sitting Glass-Steagall. And I came to a point where I really just stopped talking. Because other Bernie supporters, like 10 of us, and we're significantly outnumbered. So here's my second point. This is my solution. You may disagree with me, Dan. Usually we agree on things, but this one we may disagree on.
Go for it.
After I left that meeting, I came home and I read Michael Laird Dyson's article, and that was
icing on the cake. Yeah.
Yes, it was. And you saw how I was just lining up Twitter after that. So I've come to a point where, and I hate using this term, and I mean this politically speaking, I think we progressives in particular have to come to a point where we are angry, dare I say, politically militant progressives. And what I mean by that is progressivism, when it first came about, our biggest challenge was getting legitimacy from the political establishment. Yeah, you had Bernie in the 90s, they came Kucinich and so forth.
Right.
And I think we've accomplished that goal, even to the point where if you poll most Americans, whether they identify as progressive or not, they support progressive policies.
Right.
So I think we're in a different phase of progressivism where our goal is now to get people elected to political offices to control the House, the Senate, and the White House.
Mm-hmm.
That's now the new goal. And I'm sorry, Benjamin, if anyone is not willing to A, stand for progressive policies, and B, help get other progressives elected,
right,
they gotta go.
Right.
And I mean my beloved progressive. And if Alan Grayson won't stand up, there's time left. But come Iowa, come South Carolina, come New Hampshire, if they can't support the person who's clearly more progressive, it's not like it's Bernie versus Dennis Kucinich. You might still maybe sit out and see who wins, if the better man win. Or even a more established guy like Al Gore still has strong credential ties. You can still let me sit this one out. But if it is so clear, it's not even close, that you have a person clearly progressive, another person who's Republican-esque, and you will not help that progressive elected to the office, you've got to go.
You know what? Let me. Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah. No, I was gonna let you keep going with Elizabeth Warren because I was reading an article sent to me by one of my followers on Twitter, and he was very adamant about it. It discussed the fact that Elizabeth Warren didn't attend a fundraiser for Hillary Clinton tonight in the area, and it shows her unwillingness to be used by Hillary Clinton, but it also shows that she's not actively supporting the only other politician that has a platform remotely close to hers, a progressive platform. And
I'm questioning what good is it to be the most influential progressive in the Senate? And I'll say the country. To put what Hillary Clinton has to meet with you before she runs. Joe Biden has to meet with you. The clearinghouse almost. If you're not going to use that influence to get progressives elected so we can control the Senate and control the White House.
Patrick, hold that.
You can't do that.
Hold that thought. Two things. So the person I was talking to about that was Solomon. Solomon actually pulled that out, and he mentioned exactly what you're saying. What good is she to us if she's not going to support the only person that is progressive? And we've got to get to the point where we stand true to our values, mainly because of how far to the right these other people are willing to go just to get political power. They're more concerned with getting political power and positions and all the spoils of war than they are their own values. Now, I also wanted to pause for this. Isaiah Curry on YouTube. My number is 857-600-0518. If you really think you got something to say, I challenge you to call it. And that's for anyone else. Hey, Patrick, thanks for the call, because I need to say a couple things. I don't want you to think I'm talking to you when I say this. All right. And listen, I don't do chat room thugs or Twitter thugs and people who want to leave. If you know where to find me every single night, Monday through Thursday, 9 until we get off the air. 857-600-0518. If you think your idea is so great and you're able to actually challenge me with it, then call in. But all this yakking that you guys have going on, people want to debate me on Twitter. Man, I got time to debate you on Twitter when you can call me in on the air and it could be your moment to shine. You can take down Benjamin Dixon. But I found that 99% of the people who talk trash on the internet are too scared to actually do it in real life. And the other 1% are actually dumb enough to try. 857-600-0518. But Patrick, back on point. I agree with you. Michael Eric Dyson's article was enough for me to say, I want no parts of Hillary Clinton, because they're trying to buy out the entire, without the effort, right? Here's the other thing that bothered me about the article. He actually said that Hillary Clinton has had a reckoning with Black Lives Matter. Not that she actually has to, right? It's not that any of these politicians absolutely have to encounter Black Lives Matter. The thing that pissed me off about that article was that the Black political elite shielded Hillary Clinton from engaging with Black Lives Matter. So she had the exact opposite of what Dyson was trying to sell to us. He was trying to sell to us that she has had a come to Jesus moment, that she has been reformed, that she has had an encounter with Black Lives Matter, and she's all the better for it. No, that did not happen with Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton has not had to come to have a reckoning with her policies that have been detrimental to the Black community. She has not had a reckoning with even having to say Black Lives Matter, which is just secondary, right? That's not even as important than actually coming out with policies that she's actually going to change that are important to Black Lives Matter. So here he is in this article claiming that she's had some type of encounter with Black Lives Matter that's meaningful and substantive, when all we see in every time they try to have a public in protest of Hillary Clinton, we see the Black political elite doing exactly what I almost called him Ben Carson, what Michael Eric Dyson did last night with that article, and that is caping and shielding Michelle, whatever her name is. I can't even think of her name right now. Caping and shielding Hillary Clinton from the youthful activists and the movement that is Black Lives Matter. So the fact that he's really lulling, he was trying his best to be a spokesperson to lull Black Lives Matter to sleep and to just usher all the Black people to vote for Hillary Clinton. That's enough for me to be like, you know what? Get time for Hillary Clinton. Now, I have less time for idiots like Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. I would take Hillary Clinton over Ted Cruz any day. But that's not the choice that we have right now. Right now, we have the choice of getting Bernie Sanders or somebody other than an establishment politician elected. Anybody other than an establishment politician. Anybody. Get Jill Stein on the line. All right. Isaiah, you have not called in. Let's just keep that straight. Let's be real. You have not called in. We don't do any signifying on here. I call out bullshit every minute of the day. All right, let me shift gears and talk about Donald Trump and his flock of preachers that are running up behind him. Yeah, I thought so too. I'll address these questions. I want to play a video of Donald Trump's preacher support. All right, let me pause it right there because of reasons, copyright reasons. All right, This is Pastor D. Scott. I don't know what the D stands for. I have a couple of words that it could represent. This is D. Scott, the guy with the processed hair, dyed, fried, and laying to the side, right? Coming out from a meeting with Donald Trump in New York with about 100 black pastors, half of which made it clear before the meeting that they're not going there to endorse Donald Trump. And then a handful, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 of them couldn't resist the opportunity to have a photo op with the Donald Trump. A couple things before. Oh, hang on, because I'm gonna make sure. Let's get this. Let's get this guy right here. A couple things with Donald Trump and these preachers. There's not one iota of spiritual or religious or moral character that is exuded from Donald Trump's personality. Nothing. So none of these preachers can give us a single reason why, a single spiritual reason why they feel Donald Trump should be president. I would give this to the John Hagees and the right-wing conservative preachers. At least they're consistent. They are only going to support someone who at least pretends to be a Christian enough. Donald Trump doesn't even pretend to be a Christian with the stuff he says. He doesn't pretend to be a Christian with the life that he lives. And so at least the John Hagees and the whatever their names are, I don't even know their names anymore. At least they're consistent in that regard. These black preachers who have lined up for an opportunity for a photo op for a national presser can't give me a single reason, a single spiritual reason to support Donald Trump. So now, what is the basis of their support? Because everything that Donald Trump has said has not only been vitriolic, has not only been repulsive, have not only been downright disgusting, it has been racist, it has been xenophobic, it has been Islamophobic, but he has also incited violence against Black Lives Matter activists at his own rally, saying that they probably should have been roughed up. And somehow this is okay with this special batch of preachers. Let me take a segue right here. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Ben, I'm sorry to get your hopes up. It's not Isaiah. It's Pedro again.
Oh, I was hoping you knew I had you on hold because I thought you were Isaiah.
No. Okay, seriously though, I know you booed me last time I gave you tech support, but none of us can, at least in YouTube, can hear the videos that you playing. Neither the John Fierstein video nor this one. We didn't hear a lick of it. At the very least, could you put up links to the video afterwards so we know what it says?
I'm glad somebody actually said something. All right, great.
No problem. Also, Isaiah's a pussy if he doesn't call. Just want to get that out
Absolutely. There. He absolutely is. Let me run this one more time. It was a simple button that I needed to fix.
And listen. We had a very productive, constructive meeting. We made history today because we had meaningful dialogue with Mr. Donald Trump. And we voiced concerns that were sensitive to the African-American community. And we asked questions, and the questions were answered where we're all satisfied with the answers. And we're a unified front right here. We had a wonderful time, wonderful dialogue, wonderful fellowship, wonderful interaction. It was a great day here in Trump Tower today. What were your concerns?
Okay, there you go. That should have played for you guys that time around. Okay, thanks a lot for clearing that up for me on YouTube. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to double back and play the Joshua Feuerstein clip at the end of the show as well. Can anybody, it doesn't have to come from these preachers, can anybody give me one component of Donald Trump's character that is remotely like Christ? I'll wait for it. I'll wait for it. Can anybody in the chat room, can anybody on Twitter, can anybody on the internet radio show, can anyone give me one redeeming component of Donald Trump's character that is remotely like Christ? Nobody. And I'll wait for it. You can email me, so you can tweet me. Give me something. Give me something that these preachers could actually use. Help them out. Give me something that they can actually use to justify using their positions. It's not just an endorsement, right? They're using their positions as preachers of the gospel to support a guy who is everything but Christ-like. That's one. Then number two, they're using their position and influence in the black community to do for Donald Trump what Michael Eric Dyson is trying to do for Hillary Clinton. They're all trying to be the Moses who's going to usher the children of Israel into the arms of a new Pharaoh. And actually, the correct analogy would have been Joseph, who took the children of Israel into, but you get the point. I don't know which one is worse. I don't know which one's maybe I think they're equally as disgusting. These preachers trying to pony us off to Donald Trump and Michael Eric Dyson trying to pony us off to Hillary Clinton. Let me play the rest of this interview so you can hear some things.
I didn't have concerns because I was already convinced, but there were concerns that the liberal media has put out, portraying Mr. Trump in a light that I know he's not the type of person that he was depicted to be. So what we were able to do today was allow people to see his heart for themselves and to make up their own minds about him. And they find out that he's not the person that the media has depicted him to be.
So not only does he try to pony us off to Donald Trump, he uses the standard conservative talking point that we don't know what we saw. We're too dumb. We're too dumb to take Donald Trump at his word. We're too dumb to take Donald Trump, his xenophobia and his racism towards Mexicans and immigrants at his word. We're too dumb to take his comments towards Black Lives Matter for him. You know, we don't hear Donald Trump right. You know, it's the liberal media trying to convince us otherwise, right? We can't hear it for ourselves. We can't hear the open, blatant, glaring misogyny the media is doing it. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, man, this Patrick, man. Look, I would have left everything alone until the preacher had to come on. I was just going to be quiet and talk in the chat room. Okay, first things first. One of the problems that you're going to find that that some people in the church haven't resolved yet is everything that has happened around the LGBT community. Mm-hmm. So when you hear liberal media, they're really saying that because of some of the strides that the LGBT community has made, mm-hmm. that it somehow is anti-Christian. Mm-hmm. Now, again, whether you agree with what happens, I'm just going to say this. I just understand that we are not a theocracy. We never have been a theocracy. Mm-hmm. And one of the founding frameworks of this whole country was that they didn't want us to be a theocracy. Right. But we've always portrayed ourselves as one. And when that began to shift some in the last 10 years or so, it really messed a lot of people up. That's number one. Number two, we still got some other issues that are going on that the liberal media or nobody else can hide or deal with, that the church needs to be fully engaged and involved in. I don't agree with a lot of the things that Donald Trump says. The way that he goes about saying the hurtful things, the unrepentant qualities that he has. But heck, right now, people just want somebody who just isn't a politician, who isn't business as usual. So they'll say that. I do not get why that pastor would come up and just say, I'm for Trump. Mm-hmm. I just don't get it. I don't see any win in it unless, you know, there could be some potential kickback coming, I guess. I don't know.
Somebody on Twitter said that Donald Trump decided to pay his tithes to his church this month.
Yeah, it had to be some kickback coming somewhere. And then the final part of it is that going back to your point about just even dealing with the fact that we are being sold a bill of goods. Right. I think one of the things that all of us have to be careful of is that we have to do our own due diligence when it comes to why we support candidates. I'll listen to anyone, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to go and research for myself.
For yourself. Exactly.
I'm still going to take the time to read. I'm going to take the time to study. I'm going to take the time to try to look at some other viewpoints to make sure I'm getting the fuller picture of the response that I need to make. Because if I don't, then all I'm doing is that I'm literally allowing somebody else to shape my thought process. And we all need to be mindful of that. We need to think for ourselves. We need to be, to use the Christian phrase, fully persuaded in our own minds why we end up doing what we're doing. I have a problem right now with some of our black leaders simply because they are not holding everyone accountable, because they're trying to keep one foot, and Michael Eric Dyson must like the White House because he's trying to set himself up to get another 8 years or another, at least another 4
of access.
Yeah. This is an access issue right here. And that's what the problem is before. No, I'm sorry. Hillary has shown herself to be what we know she is. She
status
is
quo, moderate politician at best.
Moderate Republican. She's a moderate Republican at best.
And Patrick, that's the thing, man. That's the thing. Hillary Clinton is the true face of the next generation of conservatism. Donald Trump's iteration of conservatism by necessity is going to die out. They cannot win political power, even if they got lucky. Let's say all progressives sat down in 2016 and Donald Trump won. They would not be able to maintain political power, not even for a full cycle. They would lose the House in 2018. They would lose the White House in 2020. And that would be the end of this version of conservatism. The next face of conservatism, mark my word, in the next 15 years, we're going to look back and Hillary Clinton is going to be the next face of conservatism, which is why I'm just saying, get to the point already. You're running to the right of everyone else. You're vilifying universal health care. You're vilifying the free tuition for American students. You're vilifying everything that is a progressive idea. What the hell are you waiting for? What are all of you, everyone who loves Hillary so much, why don't you guys just make her the very best and the most moderate Republican possible? Why waste our time?
Absolutely. And to be totally honest with you, Ben, if I can get beyond, or if we can get beyond Donald Trump's vitriol, his policies are moderate Republican policies. He's a moderate Republican as well.
With the exception of his rhetoric on immigration.
His immigration stance. But even then, I'm even mindful that every time he says something, a lot of times the media has a tendency of pushing it to the end. Of what he may have been thinking when he said it. He isn't real thoughtful in his speaking, but a lot of rich people.
I'm sorry, Patrick. Patrick, I'm not gonna let you get Donald Trump and his I can't let you that one slide. Donald Trump and his rhetoric against immigration is almost Hitler-esque. It is he is borderline Nazi.
You, my brother, and the beautiful thing about brothers is that we can agree to disagree on certain things, but yet we can still walk together down the street and fight somebody else.
Yeah, we'll disagree on that one because I can't.
We'll disagree, and again, I would, and because I don't want to take away from where we're really going tonight, it's literally. Let us listen for ourselves. Let us pay attention to what's happening. Let's watch how the power brokers have been setting people up. The reason that these folks, and I'll give a perfect example. And I know we didn't talk about Chicago tonight, but if you look at Jesse Jackson and when they went, they did a great job of shutting down Black Friday. It was a great move. And coming back on Saturday was genius. They came back. Perfect. The thing is, listen to who they said they wanted gone. Rahm Emanuel's name
was not on there.
Come up once. It's not on the list. It's a reason why politically it is disadvantageous to them to say it, because they were the ones who pushed for Rahm to be the victor.
Exactly.
If you go back and you look, that's what happened. So one of the things that I'm being mindful of now is that I'm asking a better question. Why are you so bent? This is why I love Killer Mike's endorsement of Bernie Sanders, because it makes literally no sense for him to do it.
Right. Because you know why? Why, Patrick? Because he has no desire for access. to power. He has a desire to stand behind values. He has a desire to stand behind someone who he believes is going to hold true to the same values that he believes. Everyone else is hedging. Everyone else is hedging. They are not going to oppose Rahm Emanuel in Chicago, even though Rahm Emanuel is just as much a part of the problem as the police chief. He's just as much a part of the gang violence problem as any of the gang members, because you cannot tell me that a person, a community that is ready with the gunpowder that the police department of Chicago has, that they cannot root out these gangsters who are out there killing innocent kids, right? So he is just as much of the problem because they are lulled, they are complacent, they are apathetic, and they have been wooed by the status quo. Patrick, I want to clear up this line because I want to see if Isaiah is calling in. Thanks so much for the call.
He needs to call, but I totally agree, and we have to look at the totality of the issue, not just the violence. You have to look and see what great poverty brings violence.
Patrick, you know, all right, you take care, man. I want to make sure I just missed you. 215, whoever you were. I want you to be Isaiah. Call back in. 215. You can call in 857-600-0518. And Patrick is so right on that last point. That last point is so key. These same people who are trying to pony us off to Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, all they are trying to do is get access. There's nothing more disgusting than a money-hungry, attention-starved preacher. And that is exactly what these imbeciles who are endorsing Trump, that's all they are. They want the attention. They want the glam. They want the limelight. And Michael Eric Dyson, as much as I love and respect him, that article makes him look just as desperate as these preachers. Just as desperate, because he's trying to pony the black community off onto. And here's the thing. You have to understand, he kept talking about how Bill Clinton was an honorary black. And then we supported Barack Obama. We didn't just support Barack Obama because he was black. In that case, we would support Ben Carson. We wouldn't support Ben Carson to save his life, not because of anything else, but we absolutely vehemently disagree with his politics. We supported Barack Obama because we agreed with his politics and because he was black. You cannot be black and be a Republican with conservative politics that is going to enforce the status quo, which is problematic in America, and expect our support. Ask Ben Carson. So the problem is, we thought the Barack Obama was, not only was he black, but we wanted him to be the progressive that we thought he was. The problem for Hillary Clinton is that she's just not that progressive. She's not black, first of all, and then she's not a progressive. So she's not going to get this free pass from the black community for anything, let alone a preacher trying to pony us off to her. She's not going to get that pass. So go over there and read it. You can read it and you can see for yourself. It's not a well-argued article. His last couple of articles were extremely well argued. Whether you agreed with him or not, he makes great arguments. But in this article about Hillary Clinton, there are just no coherent arguments. They don't logically follow, and it makes absolutely no sense. And it looks like an attempt to get access. And it looks almost as embarrassing as these preachers in New York trying to get access with Donald Trump. All right, let's go. One last thing I want to talk about tonight that just happened before I got off of work today, and that's CNN. And I wonder if it's even up anymore. From what I'm told, they have taken it down. CNN wrote an article on the Freddie Gray trial that just began today. Just started today. Freddie Gray's trial started today, and they are having problems with getting a jury. But that wasn't really the story. The story today was how Ann O'Neill from CNN decided to describe Freddie Gray. And you know what? Let's do this just to be, before I go too far. You guys put a pin there. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
My goodness. Is it me?
Yes, that's you. This is you. You're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
My name is Christy. We haven't talked for a long time. My comment is that these black preachers sound an awful like like what I've read about and heard about from olden days, for the lack of a better term that I can even think of, where they were advocating to listen and follow. And I'm talking about the ones that you described.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. This is not right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I'm just not one of those people that follows along. And I am. Let me rearrange that and let me change that. I was a very strong member of the Black church.
Okay.
But then I started thinking about what they're talking about for my people. And then I started having children. And it angers me. It infuriates me. Because, you know, Ben Carson is, he, for lack of a better word, he is a leader. Not the leader, but a leader. And I am ashamed of what I have learned as far as I have learned it, but I am now learning to fight back. And as just like you, I'm finding myself not a big believer in what I am preached, but a bigger believer in what I am learning.
Okay, so observing them versus just listening to them.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Listening to them and observing and seeing what they're doing, I don't agree with that.
Right.
That's all I'm saying, and I don't know what to do.
I got you. I'll take it from there. Thanks so much for the call.
You got it.
All right. Okay, let me I need something to kind of call management. I'm going to work on my call management when I get a screener. Okay, so I think I'm trying to understand what she was talking about. I did pick up that last piece that she's troubled by what she actually observes versus what they say. All right, back to CNN and anyone else who wants to call. Let me finish this first. You can call in 857-600-0518. So CNN decides to report on Freddie Gray. Freddie Gray dead, killed by police. And in the article, they describe Freddie Gray as the son of an illiterate heroin addict. Ann O'Neill of CNN decides that this is going to be the best way to discuss a man who has been killed by the police. Now, keep in mind, as we discussed and we were studying and learning about Robert Deere, everything about Robert Deere, the man who just got through killing 3 people, was trying to understand his thinking, and he was a loner, and he was an outcast, and he was a good Christian, and nobody expected all of these semi-flattering things about Robert Deere, a man who just killed 3 people. And CNN today runs a story about a man who was killed by the police and decides the best way to describe him would be that he's a son of a heroin illiterate woman. Now, since then, and since we gave them hell, thank you for everyone who tweeted and retweeted and then all the other people who are trying to, they have since taken it down. They have not issued an apology, but I want to point out, the glaring hypocrisy that the media actually has and their willingness to cast a narrative about Black people in the most negative light possible. Because talking about a dead man in this fashion adds no value to the story, adds no context to the story, adds no clarification to the story. There's absolutely nothing meaningful that can be drawn from dehumanizing a dead man, his mother, and by extension, the entire Black community, because the closing portion of the sentence was Freddie Gray, the son of an illiterate heroin addict, became a symbol for the Black community. So in one sentence, Ann O'Neill managed to insult a man who was in his grave, his mother, and the entire Black community, juxtaposed next to their willingness to humanize a murderer who killed 3 people, including a police officer and an Iraq war veteran and a mother of 2. This is the glaring hypocrisy of the media. Now, I want you to mind you, this is the same media that they swear is a liberal bias media. This is the same media that this Black preacher who is a pimp for Donald Trump says is trying to make Donald Trump look bad. This is the same media that up until Sunday, up until yesterday, no one ever gave a meaningful follow-up before Chuck Todd on yesterday on Meet the Press. The same media who categorizes any action by Black protesters as not a protest, but as a riot. And then any action that you see by white kids after a football game in Kentucky or wherever, oh, they're kids that are rebelling. This is the twisted, manipulative world that we live in, that the same media that will blatantly, unashamedly dehumanize a man in his grave is also this liberal media who is trying to make Donald Trump look bad by never questioning him, never following up, never calling out the lies of conservatives at their so-called debates. This is the world that we live in. And the thing that stands out to me the most is a tweet, I believe came from either Solomon or Patrick on my timeline. And you guys can go look at it. One of them said that conservatives are playing by a different set of rules. Their rules are, there are no rules. We can lie. We can cheat. We can use propaganda. We can incite violence. We can use hateful, bigoted, coded, racially tinged words. And now we can just be blatant bigots. We can be blatant racists. We don't even have to hide our racism anymore, because there's no such thing as racism. Nobody is racist. There's no such thing as sexism. There's no such thing as of any of that. All that is liberal bias. All that is the liberal media trying to be politically correct. So they have created a world, and this is going to be the way we beat them. They have created a world in which they are completely incapable of ever being wrong on anything, ever. A Christian shoots up a church, a white right-wing Christian shoots up a church. He wasn't racist, even though he said it was racist. It wasn't racist. It was an attack on Christianity. A right-wing Christian terrorist shoots up Planned Parenthood. He wasn't a right-wing Christian. He wasn't a real Christian. He was a transgender. Let's blame them. It doesn't matter. There are no rules. Because once you throw the truth, the objective truth out the window, well, then hell, anything goes. Anything goes. But this is the kicker. They have such a rabidly desperate base, so invested in winning an argument as though they're going to get some type of victory out of it. They're so vested in this concept of beating liberalism that they would completely ignore all of the damage that their ideology is doing, not only to the nation, but also to them. The fact that the mortality rates in poor, white, middle-aged men and women is going up. The suicide rates in poor, middle-aged, white people is going up. Deaths because of overdose and alcohol poisoning, they're going up. So not only is this conservative ideology being detrimental to the entire nation, but it's actually killing people. They are actually fighting against healthcare. They are trying to get healthcare taken away from them just so that they can have a victory in the name of conservatism. This election is really going to play this out. because we're going to see exactly how far the normal, reasonable, rational conservatives are willing to go with the imbeciles of their base. That's why Donald Trump is so popular and so successful, because he has merged the religious fanatics along with the idiots of the base. And then that group of people who just are impressed because he's something different. But we're going to see exactly how far America is willing to go with this idiocy. How far are conservatives willing to go with this idiocy? Because the more and more they buy into it, I want to say the more likely it is to die out. I believe it's more likely to die out, but there is a possibility that it could just become more entrenched. But that's what we're up against. We're up against a group of people that the objective truth means absolutely nothing. We're up against the group of people that the very words that are coming out of the mouths of killers and politicians don't matter. We can literally hear Donald Trump say that this Black Lives Matter protester, maybe he should have been roughed up, and they will say he didn't say it. We can hear this shooter at Planned Parenthood say no more baby parts, but they will say it's not a right wing, it's not a pro-life, he's not a pro-lifer. We can hear Dylan Roof say, this is what I'm saying, the absurdity. We can hear these people declare their reasons for doing what they're doing. They can declare their positions on policies that are at best extreme and at worst almost fascist. But it doesn't matter, because so long as they can blame the liberal media, so long as they can hide their racism underneath political correctness, so long as people actually are more desperate to win a debate on YouTube chat or on Twitter, then they will believe just about anything that comes out of someone's mouth. And this is the perfect environment for charlatans. Charlatans like Ben Carson, charlatans like Donald Trump, charlatans like Ted Cruz. And cowards like Isaiah, who never called in. All right, folks, let me just run through these questions here on YouTube and see what's happening, see if there's anything. All right, I see there's not much going in there. All right, folks, you know what to do. If you like the video, like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Twitter at the BPD Show. We will be back here at the same time, same channel. I will link you to the video of Joshua Feuerstein so that you can hear it yourself. Those of you on Spreaker, you heard it, but those on YouTube, you didn't hear it. I'll link you. Actually, I'll link you in the chat room before we end. Thanks for hanging out with me. We went a little longer tonight, so I thank you. And we will be back tomorrow, same time, same channel. This is the Benjamin Dixon Show.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Crazy mother.
If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.